So by far the coolest thing about Earth Day has to do with moon trees. Hey everyone, it's Emily, and I wanted to make a short video talking about some cool historical aspects of Earth Day and how it's been celebrated both initially and throughout the almost 5 decades of its existence. So the person really credited with helping to be the driving force behind the first Earth Day is a senator from Wisconsin named Gaylord Nelson. Now, in 1963, he was a freshman senator from Wisconsin and had really been inspired by Rachel Carson's book Silent Spring, as well as an oil spill and some other environmental catastrophes that he had witnessed. And he really wanted to use his political office to help the environmental movement. So in 1963, he talked to then Attorney General Robert Kennedy, as well as another member of JFK's cabinet, to help convince JFK to go on a conservation-themed tour of the country. And they actually wrote the president directly to encourage him to take this conservation tour. And it actually happened. JFK went with the Interior Secretary as well as the Agricultural Secretary and made a conservation-themed tour of the country. And although it wasn't quite the galvanizing force that Gaylord Nelson hoped it would be, it definitely helped shape what he would ultimately be able to do with Earth Day years later. So to pull off the first Earth Day, he heavily worked with students because he recognized that student activism was a huge force to be reckoned with. And actually the first Earth Day was dated April 22nd so that it could be in between spring break and midterms and final exams, but students would still be on campus in order to participate. So the date was selected actually with students in mind. And during that first Earth Day, it was estimated that 20 million people participated, which is an incredible number. And they participated in a lot of different ways. There were speeches and sit-ins, as well as mock trials of polluting objects, including a Chevy car that was sentenced to death by sledgehammer and ultimately donated to an art class later. Now, of course, the first Earth Day didn't come without criticism. Some criticized Earth Day for being a thinly veiled attempt to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Vladamir Lenin, while others criticized it for distracting from other important social issues or for not being the best way to help garner support for the environmental movement. And some criticized it for allowing businesses in particular to engage in what's called greenwashing, where they'll tout their environmental portfolio for one day a year, but it's business as usual for the rest of the year. But criticisms aside, the first Earth Day was a huge moment that helped support the formation of the EPA as well as passing key environmental legislation. In fact, it was only 8 months after the first Earth Day that Nixon approved the formation of the EPA and was followed soon after by key legislation including the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, the Endangered Species Act, as well as acts dealing with toxic chemicals. And many environmentalists argue that that would not have been possible without the first Earth Day. And of course, the movement just grew from there, and in 1990 it really went global with almost 200 million people from 141 different countries participating in Earth Day activities. And in 2009, the UN actually designated April 22nd International Mother Earth Day in honor of Earth Day. And it's mostly known as International Mother Earth Day across the world, but of course in the US it's still mostly referred to as Earth Day because we must do things differently from the rest of the world whenever we possibly can. But it really has become a global movement, and the Earth Day Network estimates that over 1 billion people over the first 40 years of Earth Day celebrations have participated, making it one of the largest secular celebrations on the planet. But by far the coolest thing, at least I think the coolest thing that has happened on Earth Day, has to do with moon trees. So if you don't know what a moon tree is, these are trees planted from seeds that have actually circled the moon 34 times. So this came from a US astronaut. His name was Stuart Roosa, and he was actually on the Apollo 14 mission, and during this mission, he brought seeds of a bunch of different species up with him as he was orbiting the moon and brought them back down to Earth to see if they would be able to still be germinated and become full trees. And for this project, he at NASA partnered with the Forest Service to bring these seeds, and he worked with the Forest Service extensively because he was a former smoke jumper for the Forest Service before being in the Air Force and then finally at NASA as an astronaut. And a smoke jumper is an elite team of firefighters who are actually dropped into high-risk fire situations to help contain fires. And so he did this. This is one of the first things he did in his career, was be a smoke jumper for the Forest Service. And so he had a long history with the Forest Service, and when he was an astronaut, he and Forest Service actually wanted to partner on this project, and so he brought these seeds up with him on the Apollo 14 mission as he was orbiting, and then brought them back down. When he landed, they went to, I believe, a Forest Service facility in Alabama where they were germinated, and a lot of these trees were actually planted in 1976 for the bicentennial celebration of the United States, but some of them were also planted in 2009 to celebrate Earth Day, and they were planted at the U.S. Arboretum when the U.S. Arboretum partnered with NASA to plant these in honor of Earth Day. So that's it for this brief history of some interesting things about Earth Day. What are you doing to celebrate Earth Day? Let me know below in the comments. I'll leave my Instagram and Twitter linked below, so be sure to follow me there, as well as the blog post that I've written associated with this video. So be sure to subscribe to that vlog and follow me on social media, and be sure to subscribe to me here as well, and let me know what you're doing for Earth Day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.